Hello dear students, so today we will be concluding the chapter 7, Changing Cultural Traditions, and we are going to learn about the contribution of science and the scientist towards the Renaissance and the revolution which took place in science. We will also learn about Copernicus and his theories, and we will also talk about few of the scientists. So to start up with, Renaissance scientists represented a new trend, which we were already talking about previously, with a focus on questioning observation and experimentation, because they all were having this, radical thinking. So they were very, very rational. Whatever was happening in and around, these particular scientists, they had a habit of questioning, and then the observations and experimentations which they conducted and took over, they established few facts. I will be talking about Copernicus in details, but we cannot forget also Galileo, who invented the telescope and used it to observe heavenly bodies. And on the basis of Galileo's observations, Galileo later confirmed that what Copernicus tried to establish, his theory was correct. We cannot forget even Kepler, who popularized the theory that the earth was a part of a sun and sun-centered system, and demonstrated that planets move around the sun in ellipses and not in circles. So this was Kepler. Earlier what was thought that earth is totally separate and sun is revolving around the earth, but Kepler, he popularized the theory that earth and the other planets, they are also a part of the sun which we have got, and he demonstrated that planets move around. Isaac Newton also, he put forth the theory of gravitation, which we all know, which proved that all heavenly bodies move according to the law of gravitation. And in other fields of science also, significant achievements were made by Newton. Harvey, Harvey, Harvey also gave the complete understanding of circulation of blood. The Renaissance scientist Harvey, he began learning by observations and experimentations, and all of them popularly termed as scientific method. They all conducted various experimentations, and they emphasized the knowledge as distinct from belief. Whatever the people were believing earlier, whatever the beliefs were, they contradicted those beliefs, they questioned those beliefs, and they emphasized on the knowledge. And this method till date is applied to various fields, till date. When the people, they have got the strong beliefs, there are many other people who questioned these beliefs. This new approach to the knowledge of man and nature is termed as scientific revolution, which happened because of Renaissance, because the changes which were happening in Europe. So there was scientific revolution. Increasingly, nature rather than God was seen as the source of all creation. It was not God, but the nature is very, very important. And scientific thoughts were popularized by scientists, and like Paris Academy was there, Royal Society in London was there. They established a new scientific culture in the public domain as well. Now, to talk in detail about Copernicus, many of us, we have already heard about him, we have learnt about him, that Copernicus theory is an example of Renaissance spirit in the field of science, because Copernicus was the first one to put forth the theory that the earth rotates on its axis and revolves around the sun. So rotation and revolution of earth was first put forward by Copernicus, and this was a complete break from the traditional system of thought. As I started with the chapter, and I told you that the people used to think that sun rises in the east and sun sets in the west. It was all wrong, because sun never rises and sun never sets. It is because of the rotation of the earth, it seems that the sun is rising. And this breakdown of the traditional system was done by the thought process of Copernicus. And this was, termed as revolutionary. It questioned ancient thought based on, dogmas, and all along Christians had believed that the earth was a sinful place. Whenever you go to the church earlier during that black period, people were told that you have committed some sins, that's why you are getting punished. And in this way they were exploited. The churches were there, exploiting the people, especially the third order people. And, then slowly the heavenly burden which was, imposed on those people of sin made it immobile, and it was believed the earth was the center of the universe around which moving were the celestial objects. And then refutation of the prevalent beliefs of the church and its conception of the universe would mean hearsay. So fearing a reaction from the traditionalist clergymen, so they started doing it. Copernicus did not want his manuscript, which was the rotation, to be published. This work was published only when he died. And later, much later, when he died, Galileo, Kepler, Newton built upon his work, which changed the entire conception of the universe and the world. So you can now imagine that so much of changes were there in Europe because of Renaissance, because of realism, because of humanism, because of the scientific temperament people were having. Now, to end up the chapter, was there a European Renaissance in 14th century? If you ask, as per the book, the term Renaissance we have already studied, literally means it's a rebirth. According to the Greek and Roman civilization, where that means when you are reborning. So Renaissance undermined the domination of church. It focused on the cultural achievements, art, architecture, literature, philosophy, science, and was defined by a new system of thought called humanism and rationalism. Now, though the above achievements made in 14th century one of the turning point in human history, but the concept of Renaissance does not truly define this. So, recent scholars like Peter Burke have argued that the argument of Greek-Roman culture being reborn in this period and the end of church domination was exaggerations, because exactly if you see that churches were not demolished, because the beliefs were still carried on till date. And there was no sudden revival of Greek and Roman culture, but it was a kind of a continuity of it. So religion continued to remain on the important part of people's life till date, isn't it? All of us, we are bound by the religion we follow. It is argued to the contrast that the Renaissance is a period of dynamism, and Middle Ages as a period of gloom? To many cases, yes, because during the period of Renaissance, after the 14th century, only then there were so many changes which took place. New techniques, navigation, expansion of Islam, Mongol conquest brought the entire Europe and Asia into close contact with each other. When I started the first video, if you refer to what I mean by close contact, it's all the trading which started happening between all these places, leading to we have spoken about the Silk Route also, which the Mongols they applied. So then, because of all these trades, there was a leading to the cultural contact, learning was happening, transmission of technologies were happening, and Europeans learned not only from Greeks and Romans, but also from the Indian Arabians, from Iran, Central Asia, and China. So you can see that because a kind of globalization took place because of the trades, because people from Europe, they were passing on to the Asian countries, and from Asia people were having trading relation with the European countries. So these depths were not acknowledged as earlier history was Eurocentric. So earlier Eurocentric means all was happening in and around Europe. They were not carried out or pulled out from Europe to the other continents. So the period witnessed important changes in the sphere of individualism. Each and every individual is important, and for example, separation of public and private spheres of life took place, and individual was not simply a member of the three orders, but he or she was a person of his own right. So people started talking about even the members of the third order, that each and everyone has got a right. And another marked development was growth in nation states. The different regions of Europe started to have their separate sense of identity based on the languages and the cultural ethos. So with all these, you can understand that there were a lot of developments that was happening in the different regions of Europe, and they started to have their separate sense of identity based on the language. And Europe earlier united partly by the Roman Empire, but later on by Latin and Christianity, now they started dissolving into states, each got united by a common language. So with this, children, we come to the end of this chapter number 7, and I think you have understood. If you have got any doubts, we will get back to the Google Classroom for the doubts clearing session. Take a good care of yourself, stay safe and stay healthy. Thank you so much.